Hello, guys. Welcome back for part number 3. I hope you've learned the notes by now. You should know pretty much all of the notes, and if you don't know them, then you should be able to know how to find them. So if any of this gets too hard, just go back and look at the other two. Today we're going to jump right in. So by now you should know the notes. You should know what I mean when I say a fourth, or when I say a fifth, or when I say an octave. So we're going to build on that. And before we do that, I want to show you a couple of just, I guess you call them tips or tricks to help with the bass. So this is going to be probably the last one that's talking about techniques with the left hand. Next week we're going to get into the right hand, and we're actually going to start learning some songs. So I want you to get excited about that. So that's probably the best way to learn any instrument, especially when we're learning to play by ear, is to just play along with the song, learn how to play the song and play along with it, and develop your ear to hear what it's doing. So if you want to play by music, that's wonderful too. Please do that. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to help you with that, but when if you already know music, maybe you've been in a band, or maybe you play another instrument by music, so you can read the staff, then you've learned the notes. So look at that bass clef and follow that staff and play those notes, and now you know how to do that. So you've already went there. So now you'll just need to learn some techniques, some right hand stuff. But when we play by ear, there's a few more things we're going to have to do to develop that ear. So we'll get into all that later. For today, we've been starting at our G note, and I've been doing that for a reason. It's probably the easiest one. It's right here. It's on that first dot. It's the first note we learned. We've got a lot of room to play different G notes. We can go down here and play in G. So it's kind of a good key to learn some of these things in. And then we'll definitely start learning to play things in other keys as well. So, but if we want to start at this G note, the first thing I want to show you, and we did that just a little bit in the last video, and honestly we just ran out of time and I never got to it, but we want to learn this octave run today that goes like this. And then we go back. Okay, so. Okay, and then I always finish into an octave. So here's how we do that. Okay, in order to do that, there's a couple things that you really are going to have to learn, and one of those is called a hammer-on, and then there's a pull-off, and then there's a slide. So a hammer-on is what it sounds like. We're going to do a note. Actually, I'm going to go down here because it's a little easier probably for you to hear it, especially if you're listening on a phone. If you're having a hard time hearing these lower bass notes, you may want to use some speakers with a good woofer, or use headphones so you can hear that better. But I'm going to use this, and it's a little easier to do the hammer-on and the pull-off and the slide, and to hear what it sounds like on these higher notes. So I'm going to do this G note on the third string, 5th fret. So if I notice my right hand here, I'm going to strike this second string, second from the bottom. So I strike that string, and then while that's ringing out, I'm not going to mute it. I'm going to let it ring out. While it's ringing out, I'm going to take my ring finger on my left hand, and I'm going to use it like a hammer. All right, we're doing a hammer-on. Okay, so it's going to literally hit the 7th fret. Okay, so I'm going to strike this G note, and then I'm going to hammer on the 7th. Okay, that's a hammer-on. So I'm going to practice that. I can do it in a C. I can do it up here. Okay, so practice doing that. You can do it a half step if you want to. Okay, or a full step. That's a hammer-on. Now pull-off is the opposite of that. So on pull-off, I'm going to put my finger on the 5th fret on this G note and have it ready, but I'm also going to put my finger on the 7th fret in front of it. So notice, no matter what I do behind this string, it doesn't change the way that note sounds, because what we talked about the first time, the length between this bridge, the saddles on this bridge to this fret, is what determines that note. So by moving my finger around behind this, it doesn't change the shape of that note. It would if I hit it up here, but you know, who does that? You know. So anyway, so it's the length between here is what I'm worried about. So by putting my finger on the 5th fret, put the one that we used as a hammer on earlier, I'm gonna leave it there and keep this position. But this time I'm gonna strike the note. This it'll be an A note here on this 7th fret on the 2nd string. That's an A note, and then I'm gonna, having my index finger here and have it ready, I'm gonna pull with my ring finger and kind of almost like you're striking it, you know, instead of using this hand. Okay, I'm just gonna, all right, so I can strike it, move this hand out of the way if I want to, and there we go. So that's how you do a pull off. So a hammer on is I'm gonna hammer on, pull off, I'm gonna pull off. So notice through here I can strike the string one time, and then I can hammer on, pull off, hammer on, pull off. So I'm not even using my right hand. This is all on left hand. So that's something that you can do to possibly play a little faster. So if I want to do, all right, so. Alright, so I just did something else there. It's a slide. That's what we're going to learn next. So a slide is literally, I'm going to strike this note, and while I'm holding it, I'm going to move it. Alright, so I'm not going to let go and move it, because that'll kill the note, but I'm going to continue squeezing, and I'm going to slide it up. So this is something that's going to require your thumb to do its job, and I'll show you kind of when I hold this note with my thumb in the back, I'm holding it like this. So it's almost like, you know, you don't want your thumb to be up here. You don't want, you know, you don't want it to not be on the back of the neck at all. You want it to be on the back of the neck, and you want to, you know, if you're having a hard time with some of these notes, you're literally squeezing. You know, you're not grasping, you're not clawing, you're squeezing these the string against the neck, and it shouldn't be so much that it's hurting. You know, maybe those muscles are getting stronger by now if you've been practicing a lot, but it ought to just be a little squeeze. So as you squeeze with your thumb against the back, right back here, so kind of directly behind where your finger is, just squeeze and then slide your thumb and your finger up the neck together. Or I can slide backwards, okay? Or I can slide back half a step and then whole step, and then I can do a pull off to open if I want to. So that's how you do a slide. We're going to do a slide with our index finger in this exercise though. So we're going to do, so this G note, I'm going to do a hammer on, and then I'm going to slide. So notice I only strike the string one time with my right hand. I strike the string, I hammer on, and I slide. Okay. I use this finger to mute that note because it was making noise. So, but normally I would strike the string and I'd leave my finger here just to kind of help kill these. So notice I'm holding the top string and the third string here. So I'm gonna strike it. I'm gonna hold on to these so they don't make any noise. Hammer on, slide. So sometimes you might want to hit it again and slide if you're having trouble making that noise. If you do it fast enough, you'll still have some sustain. All right, so then try this. Let's do a strike it, do a hammer on, slide up 2 frets, slide back, and pull off. So, okay, hammer on, slide back, pull off. Hammer on, slide back, pull off. So you can practice that. So you try to do it faster, you know. Or all right, so maybe you want to do slide back. So then that little thing I did there was a vibrato. Probably more something you hear that a little more on the higher strings of a guitar than you do a bass. Kind of a habit, but it's not a bad thing. You can still hear the vibrato on the bass. You might have to do a little stronger vibrato to hear it, but just that's something maybe you can practice or do later. It's not required for this part, but if you see me do it, it's just habit. There's hammer on, slide, pull off. Okay. So in this exercise, in order to do this, in order to do that run, we're going to do a series of these. So we're going to start at the G note on the top string, 3rd fret. That's a G, and we're going to work our way down to this next G, and then that's why I call it an octave run. So we're not going to bother with the 4th yet. We're going to go from when we're doing this run from the 1st note of the major scale to the 5th note of the major scale, down to back to the octave, and then we're going to go back to the 5th again. If I had another string, I could go on down. Since I don't have another string, I can go up to this G note, and that's an octave. So back up, we're going to start top string, 3rd fret. We'll strike that, do a hammer on to the top string, 5th fret, then do a slide to the 7th fret, top string. Then we're going to work our way down the 3rd string, 5th fret, which is the D note. Then we're going to hammer on, and then we're going to go down to the octave. All right, so let's stop right there. So we got the 1st note, G, hammer on, slide, come down a string, hammer on, come down a string. So that's not too hard, right? So I'll do it a little faster. So try to, so you might not be able to do it that faster right now, but do it as fast as you can. If you're having trouble, slow it down. I don't care if it takes you an hour to get through that, but just get through it and then do it a little bit faster. All right, and that's a really good exercise to get these 2 fingers used to doing things and getting to doing these hammer-ons and doing these slides and doing these pull-offs and changing strings, and that's just things that probably don't come natural to you. I'm making it look easy because I've been doing it for 30 years, but it doesn't come natural. This is something that you've maybe never done before. So don't get discouraged if you're having a hard time. Just keep practicing, because practice is really what it's going to take. So once you're comfortable doing that, then you've only got 2 strings left. We're going to do the same thing again. So we're on this octave. We're going to do a hammer-on, slide up 2 frets, and then come down a string. And then, like I said, then we don't have another string down here. So what we're going to do now is do a hammer-on and slide up to 3 frets to this 12th fret, which is an octave of it being open. This is a G string on the bottom, and the 12th fret is the octave of that G string. So I'm going to slide up there. It's the same as this note and this note. So we've actually done 3 octaves. Now, in my exercise, I didn't do that, but I just did this. Okay. Now all I'm doing there is I'm doing it backwards. Okay, so we're going to go hammer on, slide, go down a string, hammer on, go down a string, hammer on, slide, go down a string. And all these I'm staying on these dots to do this. It's another reason why I'm staying in G. So I'm staying on these dots because I'm going 2 frets at a time. There's no half steps in here. They're all whole steps. So and when I go down to get to this D note down here on the bottom string, I can do a hammer on and pull off, and then do the whole thing backwards. And I'll go up to this note, slide back, pull off to the G, go up a string, pull off to that D, go up a string, pull off to there, and then go back to the G. So we'll work our way down, then we'll work our way back up. Okay, and then if you want to go a little farther, you can do that. Or I think I took a little different path when I come back, but there's no wrong way to do that. It's just something that you're doing. It's just a little fill in that you're doing. You can use this for a lot of country songs, Southern gospel songs, a lot of the hymnals, a lot of the old-fashioned gospel songs, even blues songs. You've got this, or black gospel, some black gospel. You can do this. This run is kind of a, instead of doing it like that and doing it fast, slow it down and strike every note. So you can do this we call that a walk, but it's the same thing as the octave run that we just did. It's the same note. So I'm doing the 3rd fret, top string, the next one, and then I am going to slide up and then I'm gonna come down here to this D note, and then we're just gonna go up 2 strings, up 2 frets, down a string, and I'm not gonna bother with this A note, I'm just gonna go back to this string. So should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 notes, then back 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's just a little walk that you can do. You can do that while somebody's strumming a guitar in the key of G, as long as you're doing it in the right timing, the right rhythm. So that's probably a little bit more advanced, but that's something, if you've learned this, if you learn that, then that should be easy. Okay. I'm gonna try to do this video a little more fast paced than I have before, because I feel like I've kind of drug on a little bit in some of them. So the next thing we're going to go on and go to something else. So another rhythm that we'll do quite often in gospel music, and for those that don't know, I'm a Pentecostal preacher, so gospel music is my thing. We appreciate all sorts of music, but gospel music is what I play, and it's what I appreciate the most. So so that's what I'm going to teach. But what we're learning here can be applied to just about anything. Just put in my preacher hat for a minute. If we're not playing for Jesus, we're playing in vain. All right. So here's some more things that you'll do in gospel music, or in country music, Western music, maybe even in other music. It's very common to go to, all right, if I'm going to play a rhythm, this G note, it's very common to play between this and a fifth. So a very basic rhythm on a bass guitar is to go between the first note and the fifth note, and then back to the first note. So we call that bouncing. Sorry about the fret buzzing. So you just do this, and you notice here with my right hand, so I don't want to get more into that next time, but if you're going to do this, you're going to have to recognize what we're doing, what's going on here. I'm using my index finger, and just as far as the way I learned it. And here's the thing, guys, there's no wrong way to do this. There's no wrong way to learn this. Some people play the bass with a pick. Some people play the bass with a let me see if I can get a pick. Some people play the bass with a pick, and it would sound, they may do some picking stuff where but it sounds different. I think it sounds better with I think it sounds better with your finger, or you can use your thumb. And as far as that's concerned, I recommend that you do both. When I first started playing the bass, I used my thumb all the time. I couldn't get my fingers to do what they needed to, but I learned to play with my thumb, and I got comfortable playing with my thumb. Then a little bit later on, I saw other people playing the bass using their finger, and I thought I want to do it like that. So I got used to doing that. And then a little while later, I got used to using my other finger. Use your middle finger instead of your index finger. And then if you get used to that, use your ring finger on your right hand. And if you're really feeling froggy, then use your pinky. Exercise every one of those your fingers, because there's going to be times when you're going to want to use more than one finger, especially on the guitar. When you're doing some finger picking, you're going to want your fingers to be comfortable doing any kind of picking. So even on the bass, if you do some slap pop stuff, so that would be probably don't have the sound set up to make that sound good, but so you can slap with your thumb and pluck with your finger, and we may do some of that later, but for now you need to focus on using your fingers and your thumb, and just kind of get used to using all those, and at the same time you want to make sure that you're not, if you are using your thumb, don't leave these notes, these strings up here where they're going to vibrate wildly. I can pull my finger up and hit this. Well, now it's ringing, and I want to stop it. So, and then I hear this one ringing. So you kind of want to keep control over these. So I found it easier to use my finger And then, like when I strike this string, I'm going to let my finger rest on this string. That way, if it is ringing, that's going to stop as soon as I touch it. And then this bottom string, I'm stopping it with this finger. I'm letting it lay across it. So, but that's so if I hit all these strings, that's the only one that's going to ring. So that's probably something that you'll get used to doing too. But start practicing now, learning to do that. So we've learned the walk, okay, and we've learned the bounce. We've learned an octave run. I think I'm doing that different every single time. So if you're doing it different, on my way back, I'm doing it the same way when I go down. But when you go back, you can go to G and back up, or you can go that way, or there's you can go up here to the ninth fret on the string and work your way back. There's not really any wrong way to do it. And when it comes to music, if it sounds good, it's good. Don't say, well, I can't, I come up with this thing that sounds pretty good, but, or something, but it's not in a scale. It's okay. Just, what we're learning in this major scale, this is a way for musicians to communicate. But if you come up with something that sounds good, it may be harder to communicate that to other musicians. But you can still do that. And if you want to write a song using that, that's great. Be creative. But just realize what we're learning here, and these different things that we're learning is something that we can communicate. You can look at any musician and say, this is in the key of G, and we're going to do a minor sixth in the second bar, and they should be able to say, okay, well, I understand that's going to be in the key of G, so it's going to be G, C, and D, and the minor sixth is going to be an E minor. So the second bar of the song, I want to do an E minor there. So that's just something that's just communication. But just learn this, and then be creative. Don't limit yourself. Think outside the box. I want to learn one more thing before we end this video. But we have moved fast, but we're getting close to about the 25-minute mark where I've tried to stop the other videos. So the next thing I want to learn is what we call walks or transitions. So we called this a walk, I think is what we called that. But that's an octave walk. If I'm playing in the key of G and I need to go to a C, there's this we've learned the major scale, right? So part of that scale is what we call maybe the walk down to the key to the chord C. So if I'm in G, I can do the first. I can walk to the fourth note. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I can walk back 4, 3, 2, 1. So you notice that kind of sounds like Stand By Me, but that's that's a very common. It's just the first 4 notes of the major scale to get to the fourth note. So if I'm playing in G, now I'm going to do this bounce. I want to do it up here instead of down here so that I can walk down there. So notice, this is a G, and I was doing that bounce like this between the first and the fifth notes, between the G and the D note. So I'm going to, instead of doing this G, I'm going to do this G. So now the bounce is going to look like this. All right, it's okay to do that. I'm just using a lower G note, and then using my index finger to get that D. So if we're bouncing, playing a song doing this, then I'm going to go to the C note. I'm going to bounce in that C. Okay. I don't know if you. I hope you caught up with me. If not, let's do this again, and then we're going to bounce back to the G. All right. So we're going to do this again. G, D note, G note, D note, G, D, and then walk. G, A, B, C. All right. Then we're going to walk between the C and the G, which is the fifth. And then we're going to go back to the G. All right. And And then to get to the D note or on this chord, because we're playing in the key of G, so we're playing G, C, and D, we're going to do kind of what we did in that octave run. We're going to go, all right, now we're in the D. And now I got two choices. All right, I'm going to go back to G. I can either I can reverse what I just did, all right, or if I'm playing in the key of D, I can do, all right, that's exactly the same as what I did up here to go to C, except when I'm at D, I can do that to get to G. So then we've got this. All right, so playing around with that. There's different songs go in different chords at different times. So get used to switching from G to C to G back to D, or from G to C to D, and learn how can I, what's different creative ways that I can get to these chords. I don't have to do those walks. I can just play. And sometimes we do that. I think the first song we're going to learn next week don't really have walks or bounces. We're just playing the notes. But we will learn some songs too. We might go to a bluegrass song or something where we'll do this walk. So, and then another thing you can do is you can actually keep rhythm. If you're a drummer, this will come real easy to you. If not, listen to some drums. Because when we start learning rhythm, that's real important that and I know I use the word important all the time, but the bass is going to do kind of what the drums do. It's kind of the same rhythm. So if you listen to the drums, you'll hear a bass drum, and then you'll hear a snare, or you'll hear a bass drum and maybe a tom or a cymbal or maybe a wood block or something like that. But you'll hear the first beat, and then you'll hear the off beat, and a lot of times we'll play the bass that way. So we'll do a note the same time they hit the bass drum, and then maybe when they hit the snare, we'll either mute the note or I'll hit the strings. No, it kind of sounds like a snare, so I can kind of play that with the drums if I want to. All right, so it's kind of a. So listen to the drums and learn how to play rhythm on the bass to match the drums. You can add more to that. All right, I'm gonna do this G. So and all I'm doing there is this G. I'm going up here to this. It's an E note, 7th fret, and then I'm going back to the 5th fret and hammer on, and then going back to the G. So there's all kinds of different ways you can play rhythm, and there's all kinds of different ways you can play notes. There's really no wrong way to do that. If I'm playing the key of G, I can. I mean, as long as it's in that. If I'm playing in G major, as long as I'm hitting notes in the G major scale, it's really not a problem. Most of the time though, we're going to want to keep it between the 1st and the 5th. And maybe throw in the 6th or something, like I did that E. It's usually okay to go up. When I say okay, I mean it normally sounds good to go up here and hit this note directly. So not the 5th, but it would be the 6th. So I use my index finger and go up a string and 2 frets up. So, and that's normally the 6th. So here's the 5th, the 6th, or I guess it's always the 6th on the bass. So you can do those 5ths. So you can also walk between that. So I hit the 1st, 6, 5, 6, 1st. So you can do this. All right. So that's another walking practice. I know that's a lot. So kind of my goal here is to not have a whole bunch of videos that just show a little bit. But you can go back and you can watch pieces of this. If you find something difficult, watch it again. Comment, and I don't know if we've been sharing this on social media, but if you don't have a YouTube account, I sign up for YouTube account so you can put comments here on the video, and maybe it'll help other people and it'll help me get some feedback. so I can actually hear from you. If some of this is a little bit too difficult and you need me to slow down or explain something a little different, I'll be glad to do that. So I hope you're having fun. I hope you're playing and you're enjoying doing this. Just keep it up, and we'll see you next week.